Hello everyone, welcome back to the outside world. So in the last, in today's video I just want to show you what I've accomplished since last time. I've done quite a lot of work on the map behind the scenes since last time, so I just wanted to show you briefly what I've done. So for starters, I've redone a lot of stations. A lot of the IND station objects were glitching out and messed up the track marks, and tracks were going missing, so I had to redo a lot of stations on the J line as well as the A and the F and the B and D. So these used to be IND stations. I'm on the J line right now, but I had to replace it with IRT stations because the stations were glitching. So what I did was I tried to match the J line with the IRT counterpart, since in real life the 6 train runs local on Lexington Avenue and on the Upper East Side. So in real life at 68th Street Hunter College, the 6 uses blue pillars, so I use blue pillars here for the J. This is 72nd Street. I use red pillars because on the west side, the 1, 2, and 3 use red pillars. And this is 77th Street. Literally for the same, yeah. But let me show you where we left off last time before I get into that. Because I don't think I mentioned anything about the J or L trains in the last video. I left that blank because I didn't really start those yet. So if you guys remember, in the last video, this is the end line from last time. And that's the path. So I pretty much completed the end line entirely, as well as the queue, which I will show you in 10 seconds. So we built this in the last video. This is 6th Avenue. This is where we left off, like at this exact spot. So now I'm going to show you what I finished. So I pretty much sent the N train down 5th Avenue. And this is 21st Street. So now we're running along the cemetery. I think Evergreen. Should be Evergreen. This is 21st Street, not to be confused with 21st Street Queensbridge, even though it uses the same textures as the real life 21st Street Queensbridge. This is just 21st Street. This right here is 5th Avenue, 25th Street. And then after this, the N train goes west on 28th Street to 4th Avenue, where it'll meet up with the Q train, which I've built. I didn't show you guys the Q train yet, since the Q train wasn't built in the last video. So this is 28th Street and 4th Avenue, an express stop, with the N train making all local stops and the Q making express stops to Fort Hamilton, Verrazano Narrows. The last stop on the N will be 86th Street and 4th Avenue in Bay Ridge. So I'm just going to show you guys that real quick. This is 33rd Street. This is 38th Street. And I chose 38th Street because in real life, the D train leaves the N and R at the 38th Street portal. So I just wanted to make that reference right there. This is 45th Street. And at this point, it just emulates the real life R train. The next stop will be 53rd. This is 53rd Street. And then the next stop is 59th Street, an express station. And then the next stop will be Bay Ridge Avenue. Yep, Bay Ridge Avenue. And then Bay Ridge Parkway, followed by the last stop on the N train, 86th Street. So the N train terminates in the middle while the Q stops on the sides. And something that's changed since last time, I've found the time to do all of the route textures for the trains, so all of the trains are updated to reflect the new service changes. which including the R32, R110A, R142, and R142A. So I finally got those signs to work on trains 2019. So yeah, this is the end train right here at the last stop, 86th Street. Now I'm going to show you the end of the queue line. The queue has about 3 or 4 more stops left. This is 90th Street. The next stop will be Bay Ridge 95th Street, which is a hybrid of a subway and surface level station. As you can see right here, didn't add scenery yet, but I will soon. Bay Ridge 95th Street. This is Marine Avenue. And then the next and last stop is Fort Hamilton, Verrazano Narrows. You can see the R160 in the station right here. And if you notice, the sign is updated. Going to Brooklyn Bridge Park Pier 3, which I will show you next. You got the water right here. And if you look in the distance, you'll see the PAT train from the 2017 version of the outside world. I managed to get this far. Over here is Coney Island, where you could connect to the commuter rail services, Amtrak, New Jersey Transit, and Metro North. Okay, so now let me show you the finished queue line north of 28th Street. So we're back at 28th Street, but now we're going northbound. So the N train leaves, now it's just a queue. This is 23rd Street and 4th Avenue. I believe the next stop is Prospect Avenue. Yep, Prospect Avenue. And now we're crossing over the commuter rail services. And then the Q train goes east on Prospect. No, not Prospect, 15th Street. The Q goes east on 15th Street until 7th Avenue. And then it goes north. So this is 15th Street Park Slope Armory. Now we're on 7th Avenue. And in the distance over there, you could see the PATH and N train stopping at Bartle Pritchard Square. And you can see the street signs reflect 15th Street and Prospect Park West. So moving north on 7th Avenue, the next stop is 9th Street. And here, right here, this would be the real life location of the 7th Avenue station on the F and G, the real life location. But in the outside world, it's a Q train stop, and we're running on 7th Avenue. The next stop will be 6th Street, New York Presbyterian, followed by Union Street, where you could transfer to the outside world F train. As you can see, the Q train stops on the upper level, while the F train stops on the lower level. And as you can see, I updated the F station to the IRT style because the IND station glitched out. So this is 7th Avenue, Union Street. This is Berkeley Place. And then the 7 leaves. Well, the 7 stays on 7th Avenue for a bit more until it goes to Carlton. And now we're at Flatbush Avenue, where you could transfer to the E and N train on the lower level. So yeah, now we're moving north on Carlton Avenue. We're at St. Mark's Avenue. And now we're at Atlantic Avenue, Carlton, which is the southern terminal for the L train now. And I don't think I mentioned the L train in the last video since I hadn't really started it yet. So now that I finished the L train, I can explain. So in the past, the L train used to terminate at 14th Street, 6th Avenue with the J. But now I've let it go east into Brooklyn via the real life Williamsburg Bridge. Not the Manhattan Bridge disguised as the Williamsburg Bridge that the N and R run over, but the Williamsburg Bridge. And I'll show it to you guys after the Q. You'll see. So then the L and Q go north on Carlton until Fulton Street. And then at this point, the L train goes under to continue north on Carlton until it meets with the path, while the Q goes west on Fulton Mall. And now the Q train has a transfer to the E, M, N, and R at Fulton Street, Nevins. As you can see, I've also redone the E, M, N, and R station to represent the IRT because the IND station glitched. M and R local, EN express. We're still going west on Fulton Mall. This is Hoyt Duffield Streets. This is Lawrence Street, Hanson Place. And then the next stop is J Street, Borough Hall. Not to be confused with J Street Metrotech, where the E and M stop right over there. This is J Street, Borough Hall. This is Adams Street, and now we're moving on Joramelon, because Fulton Street turns into Joramelon after Court Street. So this is Court Street, and now we're moving because we're going to Brooklyn Bridge Park by the pier, so we're going to end up being at surface level soon. Yep, so this is Henry Street, surface level station. The next stop will be Furman, I think. Yep, Furman Street. And look at this. We're right by the East River, Brooklyn Bridge Park, and look at that in the background. A redesigned Brooklyn Bridge, which I spent about an hour assembling. Now we're at Montague Street, and then the next and last stop is Brooklyn Bridge Park, Pier 3. Here you have another R160 at the last stop. Just gonna show you guys the sign real quick. Via Fulton, 7th Ave, 4th Avenue Express to Fort Hamilton, Verrazano. Yep. And the cool thing about this is, if you look in the distance, not too far, you have the PAT train right here. Because I've also rerouted the PAT train from the Brooklyn Navy Yard to Fulton Ferry. So this is Fulton Ferry directly under the Brooklyn Bridge, the redesigned Brooklyn Bridge. So yeah, since we're here, I'll show you guys the new path extension, which will take us back to the L, and then I'll show you guys the L train into Manhattan. But before that, let me show you guys the Brooklyn Bridge. Although this isn't exactly the Brooklyn Bridge, I figure it looks much closer to it than the bridge that was here before. And I even added the Twin Towers in the background just to add to the scenery. Because I personally think the Twin Towers really highlighted Manhattan's skyline. They look really cool. And I really love this bridge right here, much more than the last one, personally. Okay, back to the PAT train. So the PAT train pretty much runs next to the E&M until it goes east. Now we're at Prospect Street. It goes along Flushing Avenue. So now we're at Flatbush and Nassau. So now you can transfer between the N&R and the PAT train at Flatbush and Nassau. You can see the Manhattan Bridge disguised as the Williamsburg Bridge in the background. And then the next stop is Navy Street Carto, right here. And then after this station, it merges with the L to stop at Carlton. So I'm just gonna zoom past all of this so I can show you guys. So yes, if you remember from the last video, I don't know if I showed it, but this is where the L and PAT train merge at Carlton. So we came from over here. The L train going back to Atlantic Avenue to meet the Q goes this way. This is Brooklyn Queens Expressway station. The next stop will be Myrtle Avenue. Myrtle Avenue. And then DeKalb. And I designed this to look like the real life L train at DeKalb Avenue, where it has blue pillars. And it's spelled something like that, the mosaics. Then the next stop is Lafayette Avenue. And I chose not to add any pillars to this station because I based it off of the real life C train at Lafayette Avenue, which also doesn't have pillars, even though the wall would technically be green, but you know. And then you can see the Q train coming off of the right, and this is again back at Fulton Street, and we just came from here, so I'm gonna show you the new L extension. So yeah, back at Carlton, the PAT train to Staten Island goes that way to run its regular route, while the L train goes this way where the path used to go, because the path used to terminate at Brooklyn Navy Yard, but I've relocated the station and now the L train stops there. This is Market Street. Yeah, the old Brooklyn Navy Yard terminal for the path used to be right here. The old tower still remains. But now I moved the station, so now the Brooklyn Navy Yard is over here, and it's an L stop. So we're still in Brooklyn, because remember the L train goes to Central Park East and 77th Street to merge with the J, so now we have to go north on Bedford Avenue. So now we're at Kent, because we have to take Bedford Avenue to Broadway to get to the Williamsburg Bridge. So this is Clymer Street. I believe the next stop is Bedford. Yep, this is Bedford Avenue. Then the next stop is Broadway Ferry, right by the edge of the river. So this is supposed to be the Williamsburg Bridge, but since I have the Manhattan Bridge disguised as the Williamsburg Bridge, I didn't want any duplicates, so I used the George Washington Bridge for the Williamsburg Bridge. Outside world logic. So as you can see, on the upper level you have street traffic, while on the lower level you have the L trains running across the bridge. So now we're in Manhattan. This is Pitt Street, and now we're at Essex Street, Delancey and Essex in the Lower East Side. So now we're gonna go north on First Avenue. So this is East 2nd Street. Then the next stop will be 12th Street, followed by First Avenue and 14th Street. So now we're on the corner of First Avenue and 14th Street, where the real life L train stops underground. The next stop will be 3rd Avenue, 14th. Again, another real life L stop, except it's underground. And now, this looks familiar. Oop, I gotta fix that. So now we're at 14th Street Union Square. The L train goes on to Park Avenue up here, while the J and Z come from 6th Avenue down there. So yeah, this is the Union Square complex. The R train terminates here in the middle, while the J and Z go west. I apologize for the lag. And this is the newly designed 14th Street 6th Avenue. You have an R143 on the Z and then an R30 on the J. So let me show you the new sign. This is the first time the Z is officially being used in the outside world. So the Z goes to Queens, Flushing Meadows. And then you have the E train right here, which will be bound for Brooklyn, Crown Heights, Utica Avenue. I still have to do the overhead destination signs, but at least the train route signs are done, like they're finished. So that's one less thing I have to worry about. So now we're going north on Park Avenue. The L train is the Park Avenue Express. The J train goes up to merge with the L as the Park Avenue Express, while the Z remains on the lower level to be the Park Avenue Local, bound for Queens. So now we're skipping stops. That was 18th Street, 23rd Street, 28th Street, 33rd Street. And now we're at Grand Central, 42nd Street. So I also redesigned the station because I used the IND station here originally, and that station glitched, completely destroying the track, so I had to redo this. I apologize for the notifications. Today's my birthday. So yeah, we're at 51st Street. This is 53rd. And this is where I started the video at 57th Street. So then the Z train, which I haven't finished yet, will go east on the Queensboro Bridge into Queens via Roosevelt Avenue to Flushing Meadows, Corona Park. So now, oh, before I forget, I also worked on the K train, because I was originally going to send the K to Betsy Head Park to terminate, but instead I'm going to have the V go there instead. Yeah, they're blowing me up. So I'm going to send the V to Betsy Head Park and let the K train go west to Winthrop Street, Wingate Park, and East Flatbush. So as you can see, this is the P train. I've redesigned it to the IRT style. So the K train would end up going west on Newport Street, and then you have the V train up here. So I've redesigned this entire interlocking. So now the V train will merge with the P, because before there used to be a loop where the V would go around to go back to JFK Airport, since Newport Street was the last stop on V trains. But now I've extended it by 2 stops to go to Betsy Head Park. So here's the V. And I have the 2 and 5 train in the background. So as you can see, the signs are updated. The 5 train to Van Sinderen. And looky here, working R110A signs on the 2. For the first time on Trains a New Era and Trains 2019. I will make a video on how to fix the R110A, R142, and R142A signs for the regular New York City subway soon, because I haven't fixed those yet, only the ones for the outside world. But now that I figured it out, I should get that done within a week or two, and then I'll show you guys how to do it. So for the K extension, as I showed you in the last video, the K train diverges from the V after Junior Street and then merges with the P at Mother Gaston, right here, as you could see. So this is an IND station that I haven't replaced yet, but I'm guessing since I just built it, it hasn't glitched. But I will replace this soon with another station, because this may glitch in the future. This is an exception since it's a different style of IND, but that's besides the point. I'll also have to update this little section right here. That's the 1, 3, and 7 passing above. So then the P train bound for Myrtle Avenue, Woodhaven, and Queens goes to the right, while the K train bound for East Flatbush, Winthrop, Wingate Park goes to the left. So now we're moving west on Newport Street. So the K will go on Newport until it gets to East Flatbush, and then it'll go back on Linden Boulevard. Now we're at East 98th Street. And as a matter of fact, the 4 train isn't very far from here. So let me show you guys. So back to the K train. This is Kings Highway. And a cool thing is, now the K train will have a transfer at Utica Avenue for the C and G trains. Right here at Linden Boulevard. So it's a 3-level station. The K is at the top level with the G train in the middle, and then the C local on the lower level. G train to Far Rockaway, the C train to Beverly Road. Yes. And I believe I showed that in the last video, so. Now we're going further west on Linden Boulevard. We're at East 42nd Street in East Flatbush. And now we're going north on Albany Avenue. So the next stop is Kings County Hospital, right here. Kings County Hospital. And then the next and last stop is Winthrop Street, Wingate Park. Right about here. As you can see, this R68 has the updated sign to reflect it. me show you guys this R188 real quick. Yep, so the 7 will run on R62As and R188s. The 1 will run on R62s and R62As. The 2 will run on R110As and R142s. The 3 will run on R62s. The 4 will run R142s and R142As. The 5 will run entirely on R33s, the IRT Blackbirds entirely. No R142s for the 5. The 6 will run entirely on R62As. This is the K train at Gateway Center. I have it running R46s now, since I transferred the R30s to the T line from the K, and the R46s from the T to the K. And then a few minor things other than a lot of the station updates that I've done. I've also added some new bridges to the map. So along the J line north on Park Avenue, I actually found the real life High Street Bridge in the download station. So I've added it to the map because I kind of had a stand-in to represent the High Bridge. But now I have the actual thing, so I'm gonna show you right now. Right here. This is the High Bridge. Yeah, the High Bridge. I kind of extended it, so I added 2 of them and then I reversed it so that way it could span the entire river. This was the stand-in and it has cars running on it. That's funny. But this is the actual High Bridge, which I've added recently. And you are gonna see that I've also added another George Washington Bridge at Fort Washington Park, except it's much bigger than before. You'll see. As you can see to the right here, this is the second George Washington Bridge. And it goes all the way over here, passes right over the steam railway, which I find pretty awesome and adds like an awesome shadow right there. This is Fort Lee on the steam railroad. Yeah, this map is really huge, man. I don't think anything like this has ever been done before. And then lastly, for Amtrak, I've added the Tappan Zee Bridge right here. So that way it just colors the scene a little more, since that's what this bridge was supposed to be, the Tappan Zee Bridge. Although that's the old bridge, the new bridge looks somewhat different. So this is Amtrak passing over the steam railway bound for Syracuse. The steam railway is going to West Point. Right up here. This is West Point. Up here in upstate New York. And then to the east, not too far, you have the Metro North bound for Poughkeepsie that runs over here. This is mainly for those who haven't seen it before, but this was already built in the 2017 version. So I haven't made any changes to the commuter rail lines other than the path. But yeah, those are most of the changes that I've made. So the only work left for me to do is to finish the Z train and then to finish the 7 and P lines into Queens, because they're still at Rockaway in East New York. But all of the signs have been created. I just got to work on the overhead textures, the overhead destination signs, extend the Z, 7, and P trains, and then I just got to signal it in that scenery. That's it. You know, today's January 6th, so I hope it'll be done by March, no later than March, or maybe April. But I'll also be in school, so we'll see how that goes. If I find time, I'll work on as little as I can a week until I inch my way to completion. And that's all I have for today's update. If you enjoyed, please leave a comment, like, share, do whatever you need to do. That's all for today. Have an awesome day.